Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. My name is Natasha Bray and I'm a success mastery coach for women who want to unlock what I call the ultimate up level. And that's being able to up level financially, emotionally, and spiritually for true success in business and in life. And I'm here today with the amazing Laura Powers. Laura is a psychic, an incredible psychic, and a creative entrepreneur. And I'm going to just hand you over to Laura now to tell you a little bit more about who she is and what she does. Over to you, Laura.
Oh, thanks so much, Natasha, for having me. It's really my pleasure. So I'm most known as a psychic, and I've seen and sensed ghosts ever since I was a little kid. So that's what got me to understand that I was different. I actually thought that maybe I was crazy when I was growing up because I saw ghosts as if they were, live people, and it was really confusing because other people didn't. And as I got older, I started to understand my abilities more, learned that I wasn't crazy when I got confirmation from others. But then I tried to block out my gifts and eventually learned that I needed to open them back up and that this was a part of my path. And then I've also always been very creative, was a child actress, singer, doing writer, doing all these things. And so now I feel very blessed to be able to use my abilities to help people through my work, and then also to be able to explore and utilize my creative gifts. And a lot of what I do creatively is channeled. So there's this really strong crossover and connection for me between those two different areas.
It sounds like you've got a lot of strings to your bow. So
Thank you.
who do you help in your business? Who is the ideal client for you?
Well, I work with a lot of women. I do have, male clients, but it tends to be that a lot of women are drawn to me in my work, especially for classes. So those who are, I would say, intuitive, open-minded. I do work a lot with business owners, helping them to look at things psychically in terms of their business to help shift. And then I also teach podcasting and writing. So I would just say women, professional women who are intuitive is generally my audience.
And I've got a lot of people in my audience who definitely fit in with that category. Um, so thanks for sharing a bit about what you do with this. And you have been working with me in the Ultimate Uplevel Academy for almost 6 months now. You've just come into the end of that. And I wanted to just chat to you a little bit more about, everything that's happened for you really since you joined that course and have been going through that experience. But first of all, where were you sort of before? What led you to sign up to the Ultimate Uplevel Academy?
Well, this past year was a really big year for shifts. I think it was for a lot of people with COVID and just all the changes that it brought about. And I would say, a few years have felt like I want to go to certain places in my career and my personal life and just have felt like I would just hit a wall. Like I would get to a certain level of achievement or success or, whatever it is that I'm trying to shift, and would just feel like it was really hard to move past that point. Like there was some kind of unconscious block or invisible wall or something. So I have, for the last couple of years, been really trying to seek out, like, how can I shift past this, because I don't want to, on a conscious level anyway, I don't want to be stuck in this one place. And so when I heard about you, I really loved what you worked with in terms of working on the emotional side, because I was born into a traumatic situation that was, physically and emotionally abusive. And I know that there's a lot of trauma there. I've been working on healing it, but I still felt like there were some things there that, I wasn't really quite able to access. And I really wanted to heal those more fully so that I could move forward without that unconsciously stopping me.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, Laura. So obviously you had a background of, quite a bit of trauma from what you've described there. Um, Feeling those invisible walls. Like I remember that feeling, and it still happens now. It happens when you go to different levels, of course. But I think a lot of people will relate to that feeling as well. So you joined the academy, and what? How soon did you start to see shifts?
Pretty quickly. And I will say, I think there were several things that help with that. And I also want to say, I do tapping and I do other things. So I feel like I'm definitely wanting to take like a sort of a holistic approach to all this. But for example, pretty quickly after I joined the academy, I think it was about a month in, maybe 5 weeks, I had my first 5-figure day. So that was really exciting. That was the first time I've ever had that in my business. And that was really significant for me. Like, I think we pay attention to those things, and it's like showed that I was making shifts. And I think the work that you do is very important. And I think there's so much to be said also for like being in the room with you as an instructor, and also being in the room with other people who are also working on themselves. So I find all of that very inspiring.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah, it's a big one. I remember when, a lot of people have the big goal of the 10K month, for example. So to have like a 5-figure day is just really showing you what's possible. Once you've done it once, you can do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I've always known it's possible. I was so strange because when I was a child, I always felt like I was going to be wealthy. And there was nothing in my childhood that, should have put that in my mind. Like, meaning we were on public assistance. I got free school lunches when I was a child. When my first home growing up in France, we didn't even have a toilet. Like, we were very, very poor. But I always felt that. But at the same time, it's always been like at some point in the future. And now it's like, it's time to bring that in. And so I'm very grateful that things have started to shift in very significant ways.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And what sort of shifts did you feel in yourself? So you mentioned the emotional healing side was quite important to you. And what shifts did you see in you as a result of that?
I think one of the things I'm noticing generally is that I just feel more calm and less triggered as a whole. I think there's all kinds of things in life that can make you feel stressed out, emotional, angry, fill in the blank with whatever emotion. And especially right now, with still we're dealing with COVID stuff and the resulting changes in society. You turn on the news and there's something that could really extremely trigger you. So that's been a real relief to not feel so intensely. And I'm an empath too. So I mean, it's literally like the emotional triggers as well as the resulting kind of, feeling those emotions so strongly. So that's been really helpful to have a lessening of that intense reaction that I've experienced at times.
And how do you think that's translated then into your business?
Oh, so many ways, because I think when you are easily triggered, it's much harder to make grounded, decisions in your business. And especially when I'm providing the service to other people, it's really important that I be in a really good space. So yeah, I think it's helped in a lot of ways. And it's helped me not only in the moment, but also to think bigger picture and longer term. Because when you're triggered, you're just kind of trying to get out of that triggered space and, feel better. So you're not really able to, plan or visualize. You're just like in that moment. So I think it's been helpful both in the short term as well as for where I'm going in terms of the long term for my business.
And you mentioned quite soon you had that first 5-figure day, which is incredible. And what sort of, it's coming to almost 6 months now. What other shifts have you seen?
Well, one of the other things is just uh, planning for bigger things in my business. For the first time, I have launched a 6-month, or I'm about to launch, I should say, a 6-month course. But that's something that I had thought to do, but it was like I had a hard time kind of envisioning myself doing it. So, and now I feel very confident. Like I know that it's going to be really transformative and powerful for people. And I'm so grateful that you're one of the guest speakers and teachers. Like I just know that it is. Whereas I think in the past, even though I know I'm good at what I do, it was harder for me to have that confidence in something that was a really significant offering for people, like in terms of time and both financial investment as well.
Yeah, yeah. So you have had the shifts that have allowed you to put out your most expensive to date or highest investment signature psychic training program, which you've already got quite a lot of people signed up to as well. So we know it's a successful launch already, and you're only partway through that. So how has that felt, being able to receive more for your gifts?
It feels amazing. And I know on a conscious level, this is something that we all have access to. As a psychic, I get this information all the time from my angels and spirit guides, but it's really nice to be able to step into that. And then I've had several people say to me that, my students or clients or people that even just see me on social media, how nice it is to see me offering something like that and really holding that space and that value. And it also helps them reflect for themselves what they are capable of and what's possible for them. So I really believe that a rising tide lifts all ships,
Mm,
and that as we model that for others, not only do we feel better and then we can pay more people, I expand my team and everything, but also we help others see what's possible for them. And so I think it's so powerful.
definitely. And I know you're someone who's, even before you came to the academy, you've done a lot of work on yourself. You do some other things as well. You mentioned tapping. What, in your opinion, is different about the academy, do you think?
I think that the emotional aspect of things is so important. And I like that you talk about why you might have certain blocks. I think that's really important. Like, I've known I have certain blocks, but I haven't been able to really understand the psychology behind it. And I think it's really helpful. Like, our conscious and logical minds want to know. And if we don't understand it, I think it's harder to accept it and kind of have compassion for ourselves. We might judge ourselves more. Whereas you understand, like, oh, like the fawning thing, that's something that you talk about. Like, why would you be really kind and, helpful to someone who treats you badly? And
Mm,
I had a situation like that where I was sexually assaulted, and then I couldn't understand afterwards, like, why didn't I react more strongly, or why didn't I call them out? And it's just really helpful to understand that's a trauma response,
yeah,
and then not to beat yourself up for it. But I didn't really understand that to a serious degree. And then I think that creates an even worse kind of trauma cycle, because not only are you going through the trauma, but you're also kind of criticizing yourself or feeling badly for how you're reacting, or like that you didn't react right or something. So that in particular was really helpful for me to understand.
yeah. I think what you're saying there is that the self-blame side of things come in, and it's almost like we repeatedly re-traumatize ourselves through that beating up and self-blame that we put on ourselves for the traumatic experiences that we might have been through. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, fab. Well, thank you for sharing that. So yeah, I don't just offer the transformation. I really do go into quite a bit of depth of this is why you have these success saboteurs impacting on you, or this is why you're acting in this way, or why your business perhaps isn't where you want it to be, or you're struggling to break through to that next level. Um, Fab, thank you for sharing that. Um, is there like obviously that was a big breakthrough moment for you. Is there any other ones you can think of, like pivotal moments?
There are several meditations and, guided meditations and visualizations in the program. And I just felt that they were very powerful, and had several moments where I could really feel something shifting or lifting.
Mm,
So I think that's important. And then, like I said, just being in the room with so many, positive, supportive women, I think that's really helpful. And I think we've all had that experience of connecting with people that unfortunately think they're taught this, but have this sort of crab mentality of, like, tear other people down when they get too high, when they try to get out of the bucket, instead of supporting them. And I really do feel that you and your circle are very supportive. And I think that's a reflection of you, of course. So I think it's been a combination of the teachings that you have and going through the processing, as well as just being in that space. That's a very loving and nurturing space. You said something to me once which really struck me, which is that if you're a coach and you're jealous of, like, your clients or the people you're working with, that you have something to do. And I think because I'm a psychic, I have frequently felt that from some people
mm,
that I worked with, where even I'm not saying that they were showing that to me, but I could feel that. And I don't feel that in your circle. And it's really refreshing.
yeah, fab. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I do. I truly believe it's, when you've got lots of women in healing together, it's a much different space to some of the spaces you might find on the internet where people can be critical, jealous, the sort of hate comments and things like that. There has literally
Absolutely.
never been an issue. And, I think 9 months we've been running the academy now. There's never been a single critical or horrible or abusive comment at all in that space whatsoever. So it is, yeah, I'm proud of the container and the supportive space, and I'm glad that you felt that too. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for sharing all that with us, Laura. And if there's anyone who's watching this video thinking, I would love to join the Ultimate Uplevel Academy, but maybe they're on the fence, what might you say to them?
I would say that if you're feeling that pull, look into yourself and think, what is it that is making you feel that way? And then what is it that's maybe getting you to pause or think maybe not? I'll just tell a story um, about myself when I was thinking to take a training, and it wasn't through you. This was, very early on when I was exploring my psychic abilities. And I guided really by my angels and spirit guides to take a course, and it felt so exciting. Like when I thought about it, it felt exciting and I really wanted to, but practically it really didn't make sense. I didn't have any money in the bank. I wasn't making money. And so I waited. I just said no. And then a whole year passed by and I continued to struggle. And then a year later, that same teacher offered the training in a different location, but it was the same training. And this time I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Like, things are already terrible. What's the worst that can happen? Right. And I signed up for it again, no money in the bank, no regular income coming in. And it was a 10K investment. And it was absolutely the right thing to do. And I more than made up that 10K investment in that year multiple times, and it helped me launch my business and be successful. So a lot of times we need support. We need a mentor. We need a structure. We need, people around us in our community. And if it's financial fear that's blocking you, and you feel excited about doing it, but it's the fear, that whatever you're doing probably isn't working, and to follow that feeling. And when you follow that faith, it's usually rewarded. I interviewed Jack Canfield on my podcast. I have a podcast called Healing Powers Podcast, and he was on that show, and he said something that was like so profound. He said that when you financially invest in your dreams, that's like showing the universe that you're serious, and then the universe responds in kind. And I really feel that that's the case, and I've seen it over and over again. So if you feel excited, if you feel drawn intuitively to it, then go for it. And if it's a financial fear that's blocking you, then that can be shifted. And a lot of times we fear the most what will actually help us the most.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And it's true, there's so many people that they've reached out to me so many times over the years, like saying they want to work with me, but for whatever reason, and hasn't crossed that actual threshold to becoming a client. And they're still in the same place each time they contact me because their intuition
Right.
is telling them to, but their fear, their ego is holding them back. And obviously, it's just there will be a right time. I believe in divine timing. You can't force something. But it's how long do you want to stay in the struggle sometimes, isn't it? Because you're just delaying it.
Yeah, and I've been there myself, and then I've also experienced that with my clients. And so it's, first of all, it's very human, it's very understandable, but I really do believe that the universe responds to our beliefs and our faith. And when we act accordingly, the universe responds. And it's like, if we are living out of fear, then we are living in a fearful world. And if we're living out of faith, then that is nurtured and supported.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today. And for anyone watching this who wants to find out more about you, where can they find you?
Sure. My website is healingpowers.net. So it's tied in with my last name, Powers. And then my podcast, Healing Powers Podcast, is wonderful free resources. You've been a guest on there. Yeah, lots of courses, my 6-month psychic training course, and several books. I have 7 books on the psychic realm on Amazon or your local retailer as well.
Thank you. Well, thanks for listening, guys. And if any of you are interested in potentially joining the Ultimate Uplevel Academy, we are currently enrolling right now. So you can just get in touch, drop me a message, and I will share that information with you. So bye for now.